This is the Three Things with your host, Gene Church. Our topic today: Hunter Biden, Burisma, and corruption, the impact on U.S. government policy. For more than a year, we have heard about Hunter Biden and Burisma, even resulting in an impeachment of the president. But no real attempts were made to decide whether this topic was merely political or whether it indicates that there's an actual concern until the joint Senate committees on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs and the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance issued their majority staff report today. If you reviewed the headlines from the press, you would still be very confused because you got two different ideas about what's in this 87-page report. And the political leanings of the press are reflected directly in the headlines. On the liberal side, if you look at the New York Times headline today, it says Republican inquiry finds no evidence of wrongdoing by Biden. MSNBC says Ron Johnson's anti-Biden memo lands with an embarrassing thud. CNN says that Senate GOP report attacks Biden with previously aired allegations of conflict of interest. Washington Post says that GOP senators' report calls Hunter Biden's board position with the Ukraine firm problematic, but does not show it to have changed U.S. policy. And on the conservative side, Fox News said GOP-led committees release interim report on Hunter Biden and Burisma probe. One American News says Senate GOP probe outlines Hunter Biden's extensive foreign dealings. Breitbart put out two articles, one that said Hunter Biden's work for Burisma interfered with U.S. policy, and Biden family bought $100,000 of extravagant items with Chinese-linked credit cards. The Daily Caller headline said Hunter Biden's business dealings created counterintelligence and extortion concerns, the Senate report says. So what you read or watch greatly determines what you think about this particular issue. So I thought I'd try something novel and actually look at the report myself, since skepticism appears to be my middle name. The two Senate committees attempted to keep their analysis down to U.S. sources, but found that there was a lack of cooperation among a number of government agencies in providing them with the information needed on this matter. So this is what the committees actually concluded. On April the 16th, 2014, Vice President Joe Biden met with his son's business partner, Devon Archer, at the White House. 5 days later, Joe Biden visited Ukraine, and he soon was described in the press as the, quote, public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine, unquote. The day after Joe Biden's visit on April 22nd, Devon Archer joined the board of Burisma. 6 days later, on April 28th, British officials seized $23 million from the London bank accounts of Burisma's owner, Michola Zlochevsky, I believe. 14 days later, on May the 12th, Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma, and over the course of the next several years, Hunter Biden and Devon Archer were paid millions of dollars from a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch for their participation on the board. Here are the key findings, though, of the committee. In early 2015, the former acting deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, George Kent, raised concerns to the officials in Vice President Joe Biden's office about the perception of a conflict of interest with respect to Hunter Biden's role in the Burisma board. Kent's concerns went unaddressed, and in September 2016, he emphasized in an email to his colleagues, furthermore, the presence of Hunter Biden in the Burisma board was very awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine. In October of 2015, senior State Department official Amos Hochstein raised concerns with Joe Biden, as well as with Hunter Biden, that Hunter Biden's position on Burisma's board enabled Russian disinformation efforts and risked undermining U.S. policy in Ukraine. So if the report's conclusions are accurate, Joe Biden lied when he claimed he knew nothing about the concerns of a conflict. Although Kent believed that Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board was awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine, the committees were only aware of two individuals, Kent and Hochstein, who actually raised concerns to Joe Biden and his staff. The awkwardness of Obama administration officials continued well past his presidency. Former Secretary of State John Kerry had knowledge of Hunter Biden's role in Burisma's board, but when asked about it at a town hall event in Nashua, New Hampshire last December, Kerry falsely said, "I have no knowledge about any of that. None. No." The reason outlined evidence of the lies by Obama's Secretary of State, John Kerry. Former Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, Victoria Nuland, testified that confronting oligarchs would send an anti-corruption message in Ukraine. Kent told the committees that Burisma's president, Zlochevsky, was a, quote, odious oligarch. I guess that draws a distinction between your typical oligarch and a really disgusting one. However, in December of 2015, instead of following U.S. policy objectives confronting oligarchs, Joe Biden's staff advised him to avoid commenting on Burisma's Zlochevsky and recommended that he say, quote, "I'm not going to get into naming names or accusing individuals." Hunter Biden was serving on Burisma's board, supposedly consulting on corporate governance and transparency, when Zlochevsky allegedly paid a $7 million bribe to officials serving under Ukraine's Prosecutor General, Vitaly Burisma, to, quote, shut the case against Zalewski. Kent testified that his bribe occurred in December of 2014, 7 months after Hunter joined the Burisma's board. And after learning about it, he and the resident legal advisor reported the allegation to the FBI. So the FBI knew about this 6 years ago. Hunter Biden was a U.S. Secret Service protectee from January of 2009 to July of 2014. A day before his last trip as a protectee, Time published an article describing Burisma's ramped up lobbying efforts to U.S. officials and Hunter's involvement in Burisma's board. Before ending the protective detail, though, Hunter Biden received Secret Service protection to go on trips, multiple trips, across foreign locations, including Moscow, Beijing, Doha, Paris, Seoul, Manila, Tokyo, Mexico City, Milan, Florence, Shanghai, Geneva, London, Dublin, Munich, Berlin, Bogota, Abu Dhabi, Nairobi, Hong Kong, Taipei, Buenos Aires, Copenhagen, Johannesburg, Brussels, and Mumbai, as well as Lake Como. Andrei Telizhenko, who had been referred to by a number of Democrats as the personification of Russian disinformation, met with the Obama administration officials, including Elizabeth Zentos, a member of Obama's National Security Council, at least 10 times. A Democrat lobbying firm, Blue Star Strategies, contracted with Telizhenko from 2016 to 2017 and continued to request assistance as recent as the summer of last year. A recent news article detailed the extensive contacts between Telizhenko and the Obama administration officials. In addition to over $4 million paid by Burisma for Hunter Biden and Archer's board memberships, Hunter Biden, his family, and Archer received millions of dollars from foreign nationals with questionable backgrounds. Archer received $142,300 from Kingiz Rashev of Kazakhstan, purportedly for a car, the same day that Vice President Joe Biden appeared with the Ukrainian Prime Minister and addressed Ukrainian legislators in Kiev regarding Russia's actions in the Crimea. Hunter Biden received $3.5 million wire transfer from Elena Baturina, the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. Hunter Biden opened a bank account with Gongwon Dawn to fund a $100,000 global spending spree for Joe Biden's brother and sister-in-law, James Biden and Sarah Biden. These funds came from the Chinese Communist Party sources. Hunter Biden also had business associations with Xi Jinping, Gang Guangdong, and other Chinese nationals linked to the communist government and the People's Liberation Army. Those associations resulted in millions of dollars in cash flow. Hunter Biden paid non-resident women who were nationals of Russia or other Eastern European countries and appeared to be linked in, quote, Eastern European prostitution and human trafficking rings, unquote. The records acquired by the committee show that Hunter Biden and his family were involved in a vast financial network that connected them to foreign nationals and to foreign governments across the globe. Hunter Biden and Devon Archer, in particular, formed significant, consistent financial relationships with corrupt oligarch Mykola Zlochevsky, I apologize, during the time of working with Burisma, and their firms made millions of dollars from what the association was there while Joe Biden was the vice president and the public face of Obama's Ukraine policy. Rosemont Seneca Thornton, an investment firm that was co-founded by Hunter Biden, received $3.5 million in a wire transfer from Elena Baturina, the wife of Moscow's mayor, who also had allegedly received illegal construction contracts from her husband, the mayor. Moreover, Archer's apparent receipt of money from a car in Kazakhstan while the Vice President Biden was in Kiev is especially concerning in light of the timing. And finally, Biden and Archer's work with the Chinese nationals connected to the communist regime illustrate the deep financial connections that accelerated while Joe Biden was the vice president and continued even after he left office. The communist Chinese arranged to financially benefit Joe Biden's brother and his sister-in-law in a lavish spending spree. Burisma was not the only example of Hunter Biden seeking to monetize his family name. During the course of the investigation, Chairmans Grassley and Johnson uncovered additional examples of Hunter Biden, other family members, and their business associates pursuing financial arrangements with foreign nationals in various parts of the world. The Treasury records acquired by the chairman show a potential criminal activity relating to transactions among and between Hunter Biden, his family, and associates with the Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals. In particular, these documents show that Hunter Biden received millions of dollars from foreign sources as a result of business relationships that were built during the period that his father was vice president of the U.S. and further on. In addition to providing new descriptive details about the nature, origin, and extent of payments from Burisma Holdings to Hunter Biden, the documents acquired by the committee also shed much light on a broader range of questionable financial transactions involving Hunter Biden, other members of the Biden family, and their associations with foreign nationals. These foreign nationals have questionable backgrounds that have been identified as being consistent with a range of criminal activities, including but not limited to organized prostitution and or human trafficking, money laundering, fraud, and embezzlement. Hunter Biden has extensive connections with Chinese businesses and Chinese foreign nationals that are linked to the Chinese Communist government. These contacts bore financial fruit when his father was vice president and after he left office. Hunter's new law firm took in nearly $6 million from a Chinese oligarch wanting power and influence in Washington, D.C. Records showed that the money was claimed to be for legal representation in a criminal case that they were never a part of. The committees do not have the authority to bring criminal charges, but they do have the ability to refer for criminal charges. So it appears that Joe Biden lied when he told NPR last December that, quote, nobody wanted me or warned me about a potential conflict of interest. Nobody warned me about that, end quote. And it appears that there was far more to this than the New York Times and other liberal media outlets want you to believe. This is Gene Church with the 30 Things.